Hey everyone, I'm Insetic, and with me is Blank Tester.
Hey kids, how's it going?
And welcome to Cool Borders 2001.
Whoa.
Yeah. This is the last Cool Borders game, at least the last one released in the US, and the only one on the PlayStation 2, again, in the US. I know Cool Borders is mainly a series on the PlayStation 1, but to me, I always thought those games, which was Cool Borders 1 through 4, were competently average and boring, so I didn't really want to cover them for this series, but Cool Borders 2001, the PlayStation 2 version, does strive to kind of be a bit more wild, have a bit more kind of extreme cool aspects to it.
Yeah, this is Trent, man. Pick me.
I can't believe they put Trent in the game.
Trent, man. You thought Trent was weird? Well, look at...
I'm cool!
We got Cool himself, baby. We got Cool Border himself.
Wow.
Which, of course, we're going to play as Trent, because Trent kind of looks like me. If I were thinner and that beard I was trying to grow in college kind of worked out better.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
So this first video will be over the first racing event. You see that the events are broken up into racing, then the board park, then trick events, and then CBX, which I think is Cool Border Cross, like a pun.
Okay.
So the downhill event, Evergreen Run Gate Race, and then there's something below that will also be on Evergreen Run. And so this playthrough will also be kind of more encyclopedic than some of my other playthroughs. I didn't play this game as a kid, and basically I'm just playing this because you look online and there's only like 30-second IGN clips or 10 minutes of gameplay, and I figured I have it emulated so I can make the graphics look pretty good, and if I can get through the game, then it'd be worth showing off everything the game has to show. But it's not like I'm coming in with any great nostalgia.
Yeah.
So the gate race is probably the first event that you'll do, and yeah, you need to ride through these gates. You can see up at the top some squares those will fill in with some X's if you miss some. So it's basically 3 strikes you're out, and this will get you used to basic riding. Basic jumping, because you see some gates that kind of look like a football field goal.
Yeah, field goal.
Field goal thing where you'll need to jump over.
Swish.
Yeah, you'll need to Larry Bird it.
Yeah.
You'll need to sink a hole in one.
Yeah. With your tennis racket tearing.
Just like Scotty Pilgrim.
Scotty Pilgrim.
Yeah. You'll be going up against some AI, which are actually the other
evil ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. And
AI.
you can kind of push people out of the way with L1 and R1, kind of like SSX. But this game kind of, I don't know. You don't really seem to hit the other riders much.
Let me just say, I love that Trent got small for a little minute there.
Yeah, this game tries to do something kind of dynamic with its camera, and in doing so kind of ends up looking weird and changing the size of your person and the other riders. When it kind of pulls back and you get small, it kind of just looks like you've gotten tiny, and when it zooms in, kind of just looks like you've gotten big.
Yeah, look at him.
See, like,
Hey,
he just
Trent.
shrunk.
Hey, little guy.
So, let me talk about the timeline of Cool Borders a little bit, if you don't know the series. Cool Borders started, like I said, on the PlayStation 1. The first game came out in 1996, so right in the middle, early on in that PlayStation 1 era, and was, a pretty good leap forward for extreme sports games at that time. A pretty good leap into what 3D could bring, and like I said, it was more of a kind of arcadey, but just kind of simpler, more competent sort of game. And then it basically became a yearly series. Like Cool Borders 2 came out in 1997, Cool Borders 3 came out in 98, Cool Borders 4 came out in 99. And then, at least in America, there were 2 Cool Borders 2001s. Because in the year 2000, a PlayStation 1 version came out, which, admittedly, apparently, was pretty bad. Pretty not good. It got some pretty middling reviews. And I'm guessing that the effort was put into this PlayStation 2 version that came out a year later. Yeah, you ever thought it was kind of weird how some games, when they're right at the cusp of like a console generation, will get different games for the past generation and the present one?
Yeah, they'll like reach back and put one on the...
Right.
You know.
You thought that started with like Xbox PS2 to Xbox 360, PS3, but no. Cool Borders pioneered some things. Not only was it a yearly series like we complain about like Assassin's Creed and all those for being, but it was also... It made different games for the previous generation and the new PlayStation 2 generation. So, yeah. But, you're going to see that Cool Borders 2001, this version, is definitely competent. And, without kind of... Well, I'll prompt you to go down kind of the path you were talking about in my stream of this looking like a good starting point.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is... This is the kind of game that makes me think, see, this all feels kind of standard. This all feels kind of like a good starting point that can then explode into something really cool in future games. But unfortunately, it's the last of its series instead of a really awesome first of its series.
Yeah.
By the way, do want to point out, the sequences are basically like the challenges of this game.
Right.
And they are color-coded on the sequences list, and you can see there's like flares of different colors. Those, that's how you tell which sequence it is. I would expect if this game got a sequel, the next game would feature an on-screen element saying, here's what you do for this sequence, Like,
right.
Long jump over fence, like, appears on screen right before you do it. Instead of this color-coded thing. I thought the color-coded it's a little confusing. It's not colorblind friendly, which people they didn't really care about back then. Accessibility options weren't a big deal, but, or rather, weren't considered a big deal.
Yeah, so you do the gate race, and then the second event for a racing level is basically to ride down it, score a certain amount of points, and also find those sequences, find some of them. Like, for this first level, you need to find 3. And actually, it might not be obvious to you the first time, but that doesn't necessarily mean finding 3 in one run. That just means, you will ride down this a few times, and if you have found 3 different ones, eventually...
Over the course of your runs,
then you can move on. Later levels will actually say find X amount of challenges in one run as one of the objectives, but here I didn't quite realize that at first, so I did try to do 3 in one run.
I mean, it's just more efficient.
Yeah, more efficient. And I mean, you did see me miss some along the way and also go do one when another sequence was right next to it. So yeah, for completing these races, you'll get some skills like jumping and stamina, and that will be on the rider you picked. So like, you can actually now select a different rider and continue on in the career mode. It's not like each rider has their own separate career, but the stats that you got for Trent, that I got for Trent by having Trent win those events, are now on Trent, and it's not like I can move them to other characters.
But you can switch characters mid-career.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will be switching up the characters as we go along. And so that was the first couple racing events on Evergreen Run. Next time, we unlocked a challenge. We unlocked Challenge 1, Trick Newbie. So we will learn a few things about the game from a pro rider herself. See you then.